More pain, though, ahead for tech stocks.
Bitcoin dropping as much as 10%.
Well, it certainly looks like a really, really deep Red Sea across the board.
This past week certainly been a roller coaster ride for stock market investors across the board, and also moving into this first half of the week with the S&P 500 sliding roughly 10%, nearly wiping off the entirety of its gains made since October of 2021. And even though we are, yes, still in market correction territory for the time being, while taking into account the market slide that we've been seeing over the past 2 weeks or so, well, looking at this with some perspective here, it has been the largest and quickest sell-off since the beginning of the pandemic, with a sea of red across the board, but specifically for growth and big tech stocks that expanded heavily over the past 2 years. So of course, this is the exact reason why the NASDAQ Composite Index, that's even more heavily weighted towards American big tech stocks, is down even further in the 15% sell-off range, which definitely has a lot of retail investors nervous right now for what might be to come over the course of this year and next. But realistically, this current stock market correction really isn't out of left field, as it's following the quickest stock market recession in history that we saw in 2020. And fast forward to now, while the stock market's trying to price in the Fed's plan to continue raising interest rates over the course of this year and beyond. In fact, if you have been a stock market investor over the past 2 years or so, this is probably something that you're actually quite familiar with, but the opposite really, because over the past 2 years, we've been seeing the stock market pricing in future expectations for growth stocks. However, right now it's kind of the opposite phenomenon where the valuations are extremely high and the stock market's trying to price in future expectations and future interest rates into current stock market valuations. And so this is why in the recent video I posted on my channel covering the potential upcoming 2022 stock market crash, well, we covered a ton of data that could lead us to believe as stock market investors and retail investors that over the course of 2022, statistically speaking, it is highly likely that we see a flat to possibly even negative year for returns in the stock market, as this is now following 3 fantastic years in the stock market back to back. And of course, this has now led the market to be in a state of overall fear, where time and time again, every time we see the stock market slide by 10% or more, the same thing tends to arise in the media, where there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and overall the market's become quite bearish relative to what's to come over the coming months and years. Taking a look, for example, at the VIX index, which measures the stock market's expectations of volatility based on the S&P 500 index options, well, we can see that the expected volatility is through the roof, almost doubling since the beginning of 2022. Hey everyone, my name is Griffin, and this channel is all about helping you better your personal finances. So truth be told, we can only speak about how rising interest rates affects the market so much, but realistically, that is the primary reason why we're seeing the stock market sliding right now and over the past couple of weeks. Seriously, we could end the video right here. Lower baseline interest rates that we've been seeing over the past 2 years leads to cheaper cost of borrowing, and that's good for growth stocks across the board, but also led to increasing equity prices as well as underlying baseline valuations for these same companies. And I've realized that a lot of my followers on this channel are newer to investing and haven't necessarily been investing for several years. So over this past 2-year period where a lot of retail investors first got into the market, a lot of people have become accustomed to this type of nonstop positive equity growth in these broad market index funds, which for the record just isn't something that's sustainable over the long term when we take a broader lens here. So following one of these longest bull runs in history from the bottom of the financial crisis all the way up to around 2020, followed with the quickest recovery ever, this is a market period that's somewhat unique in that the 2020 recession was a pandemic-induced period for the markets, and that in an effort to keep markets afloat, well, governments all across the world, but specifically the US government, have done anything and everything in their power to try and avoid a massive economic recession sparked by a collapse of the equity markets. And maybe a little bit of insider trading along the way, but that's a side note. And despite the entire market selling off, well, the largest losses are pretty much concentrated in sectors known for growth and higher relative valuations. So let's first cover what a growth stock is in the first place. Simply put, a growth stock is a company that's typically poised for above average levels of growth right now, but also in the future. And for this reason, usually investors are going to pay a premium for each dollar of net income if it's profitable in the first place. Now, in more recent years, growth and higher speculative stocks were definitely at their height in in 2020 as well as the first half of 2021, with the massive inflow of retail investors looking to just take advantage of the rebounding economy and stock market. And this proved to be extremely lucrative, but like everything that's on a high, things tend to equalize themselves out once the dust settles and reality kicks in, which we're now seeing. And on the flip side, blue chip stocks as well as typically established dividend players have been around for decades. They're very established in their industries, they have steady financials and provide, yes, less growth opportunity, but in exchange for more stability and oftentimes that dividend income. And over the past decade or so, the American stock market has become increasingly but also just significantly weighted towards blue chip technology companies like the Amazons, the Apples, as well as the Googles of this world, as technology and information technology is the sector that's really become the primary driving force in growth of an economy right now in the modern era. But of course, this hasn't always been the case. After all, a mobile phone 40 years ago looked more similar to a brick than it does a modern smartphone. No, in fact, when the Dow Jones Industrial Index was first introduced on May 26 of 1896, well, it held 12 companies that are now what we consider to be in the industrial sector, with companies like American Cotton Oil, American Sugar, American Tobacco, and Chicago Gas. There was definitely a lot of American pride in company names back then. Fast forward to today though, and while every single company that makes up the Dow Jones Index has changed multiple times over, well, now of the 30 modern companies that make up this index, there are only 22% of them that are now considered to be industrial companies, as we've seen multiple sector turnovers over the past century. And now what really moves the needle in terms of economic growth for a country is information technology. So it's for this reason that what typically categorizes growth stocks will evolve over time, and now over the past 2 decades or so, it's really tech and innovation that have taken the lead. So if you think of it, this is why emerging markets typically have a much larger concentration of companies that are in the industrials as well as materials industries, as well as much smaller overall market share for information technology as well as, say, healthcare. It's also important to keep in mind here that in the current stock market environment, investors across the board have significantly more access to information as well as at a much quicker pace. Even just a decade ago, back during the financial crisis, well, information was significantly less readily available, and this spreads like wildfire in the current environment. It's only natural with the introduction of mobile brokerages as well as discount brokerages that there's a significantly larger amount of retail investors that are flooding the market. So even though the amount of capital injected into the markets by retail investors is still, of course, much lower than that of institutions over the course of the past 2 years, it certainly had a profound impact on market movements, especially for certain categories of growth stocks in particular. To back this up, even in 2020, individual investors made up roughly 20% of US equity volume, while it only made up 15% in 2019 and 10% in 2010. So there's definitely a lot more momentum for retail investing growth, and that's without a doubt increasingly impacting equity market movements. For example, taking a look at JP Morgan Chase, even though this is not a growth stock, well, this is still a bank stock that, again, you would think would potentially do better in a higher interest rate environment. Well, their recently reported quarter beat analyst estimates, and the market's expectations, though, just sent their stock price sliding even further. All of this to say, this is the reason why, despite certain categories of stocks melting right now in the face of retail investors who may be extremely fearful about what might be to come, this isn't necessarily something to be all too worried about if you do have and maintain that long-term investor outlook. It's also for this reason that over the past couple of years on this YouTube channel, I've periodically brought up the fact that crafting a portfolio that makes sense for your investor profile as well as your risk tolerance, utilizing broad market index funds to create a solid foundation and base to your portfolio is going to be a good long-term winning strategy in order to ride out market corrections as well as market expansions over the years that you're investing. Let's not be quick to forget that back in 2020, this same type of fear and panic ensued in the markets, but look at where the markets are right now, right? Had you just sold out entirely and got out of the market and not got back in, trying to time things at the exact moment, chances are you would not have taken advantage of the past 2 years of market expansion. As mentioned previously in this video, as well as some past videos released on the channel, well, it's very possible that we're going to be seeing 2022 a flat or maybe even negative year, but over time, this actually ends up being an opportunity to get into the market at a nicer price point for certain companies that are still growing despite the financial market valuing them a certain way. This doesn't mean that it's going to maintain over the next 10 to 15 years if the companies are continuing to grow and expand at a pace that is above average. Overall, despite this massive amount of panic and fear over the past 2 weeks, we're still seeing a growing economy that's showing increasing job growth, with many companies that are still very much thriving despite the fear in the financial markets and prices sliding further. As retail investors, it can be really difficult in periods like right now to continuously remind ourselves of the fact that stocks are simply shares of companies that have products, services, employees, as well as customers. And if these companies are continuing to grow over time on paper and financially, well, this typically translates over into long-term positive share appreciation. So of course, if you are a long-term stock market investor like myself and you have a portfolio that has proper asset allocation as well as a split that really just does make sense actually for your risk profile as well as your risk tolerance, I should say, well, this is really nothing that you should be fazed by and worried about, because again, over time, if you're continuing to dollar cost average and invest into the markets, into these solid broad market equity funds, well, over a long enough period of time, it's moments like these that will be paramount in the exponential growth of the value of your portfolio over time. And let me quickly level with you here. Back in 2020, when the markets were dumping 30% in a couple of weeks, well, I remember I was buying all the way down. It felt like I was just throwing money into a fire pit that kept falling. And as investors, no one really knew when the bottom was going to be achieved. And while this might feel like 2020 all over again, in reality, this is a completely different beast, where back in 2020, it was really that uncertainty and fear about the pandemic that was causing business closures across the nation. And this is something that can seriously have a long-term detrimental impact on economic growth of the country. But right now, it's expected tightening of monetary policy, with the markets correcting the ballooned and overvalued markets that are a result of the past 2 years of trading. That being said, if you are an investor who does have a very large portion of your portfolio concentrated in higher risk and more speculative investments, it's very possible that over this year, you will unfortunately continue seeing the value of these equities continue to drop down further. This is something that could definitely happen. And let's remember that we are now only seeing the Fed starting to speak about what's to come this year. There hasn't actually even been a rise in interest rates. So I think right now the market's kind of all over the place, trying to price in what's to come. And once this does actually take place, it's hard to say how the markets are going to be reacting if they're already down, say, 20% from all-time highs. This is something that's definitely on everyone's radar as investors, and we'll be continuing to look at over the course of this year. In reality, though, keeping up with short-term news often just leads to even more investor confusion, especially for more active investors, right? Just take a look at the share price of Amazon at under $3,000 a share right now, yet news headlines are stating the complete opposite. Amazon is personally one of my favorite companies for a long-term hold. I'm talking 10 to 20 years. I've spoken about Amazon multiple times, as this is a company that is growing by leaps and bounds in multiple different business verticals, not just one single business, right? They have Amazon Web Services, as well as Amazon Prime and everything that has to come with that streaming package, as well as their core primary business. All of these together make Amazon really one of the best companies in the world to hold over the next 20 years. So as investors, we need to ask ourselves, if we were comfortable paying above $3,000 a share a couple of months back, well, what makes this different right now when shares are trading around $2,800? So to wrap this up, growth stocks evolve over the years as markets shift and new industries rise in the economy. And just because we're seeing sector rotation right now, though, into income yielding positions in the market, this doesn't mean that big tech won't continue to lead innovation and economic growth over the next decade. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about why this is the case, I would highly recommend you check out this video that I'm overlaying right here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to get 5 free stocks with Moomoo valued up to $4,500 each, make sure to check out the top link in the description. And if you're Canadian, you can get 3 free stocks, each valued also up to $4,500 a piece, by using my link down in the description. Really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one.